It's a pleasure to meet you as well, and thank you very much for this opportunity. So you only asked me yesterday if I would say a few words, so I'm sorry I don't have any slides. But I did think of a title and talk about sort of training as a pharmacist. We are engineered to think with guidelines, and Merlin, just following on from Merlin, it's been perfect because you've talked about some of the guidelines that we've been asked to sort of comply with. So I trained as a pharmacist, and I thought, that's it, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a pharmacist for the rest of my life, might earn a good salary, everything's going to be great. And I did my undergraduate research project where I was looking at how South Asian communities use herbal medicines alongside conventional medicines. And that was because it was inspired by my mum. So my mum is diabetic, she has high blood pressure, thyroid disorder, everything you can think of in a South Asian population, my mum has it. Poor diet, everything. So my mum is prescribed 13 different medicines for all these conditions, but at the same time as taking all of her prescription medicines, she takes a cocktail of Ayurvedic and traditional medicines. She would juice the gorilla and have some tulsi in her tea. Now that's a huge risk because if she's taking 3 medicines to reduce her blood sugars that are prescribed and she's doing all of that as well, what if she got hypoglycemic? They don't think of that. So that kind of sparked my interest. And I did my undergraduate project looking at what other people do. And lo and behold, lots of people are doing exactly what my mum does. We're bringing stuff back in our suitcases from India when we go. And actually, she was taking this Ayurvedic medicine, which had no name, no expiry dates, no ingredients. Her brother had said, it's really good for your pain, take this. So she added that to her cocktail as well. And after that supply had finished, she had sort of a 3-month supply. After that had finished, so I was still a pharmacy student at the time, she developed a tremor in her arm, which again made me think, well, what was actually in that medicine? Was it spiked with sort of opioids or things like diltiazem? There could be other things in there that we don't know what's in there. So that was really scary, and that's kind of what sparked my research interest. And I went on qualified as a pharmacist. And yesterday, it was Baroness Bhamra said that she was a disruptor, and I realised I think I'm a bit of a disruptor as well, because a month of being qualified, and I think I pushed the basket, and I was like, I can't do this. And just so happened that I got a call from my lecturer who I'd done the project with, and he said, would you be interested in pursuing this as a PhD? And I was like, why not? Let's change up my trajectory, let's do it. And it was the best thing I ever did, because today I'm in a position where I'm an academic, so I'm teaching, but I'm also got my own research group in something that's really sort of close interest to my own heart. And when I was qualified, newly qualified as a pharmacist, I had this 85-year-old patient who'd come in, and we used to do medicines review at the time. So I was doing his review, and he'd watched this Channel 4 documentary where these basketball players were drinking cherry juice, and it enhanced their performance. So during his review, he said, oh, I bought this cherry juice from Holland & Barrett, and what do you think of it? Do you think it's any good? And I was like, oh, God, I don't know. I've not been trained, because as pharmacists, we have no training, really, in natural products. So I called the National Pharmacy Association, and I called our superintendent, and nobody had an answer for me. So I had no support, no information, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. So I Googled the product, and I used a little bit of intellect. And I said, oh, actually, you're diabetic. The product has 12 grams of sugar per serving. I don't think that's a good idea. So luckily, I was able to save myself. But that made me feel really incompetent, because every time I had a query with a patient who said, oh, this has happened. My dad had a stroke and he wants to take ginkgo. Oh, I don't know. So I'd call the MPA, and nobody had an answer. And I think one of the things I realised is we're in a safety net with the NICE guidelines, with the big net, and we stick to that. So we say, no, don't do that. Be safe. Stick to what we know. And as a pharmacist, I would never tell my patients to try anything alternative. It was only, I think, 2018 when NICE introduced honey in their guidelines for coughs. So now I can finally say to my patients, don't waste £6 on this product that I'm going to sell you. Go and get a bottle of honey. Now I can finally say it without having the reprimands of potentially being sued or something bad happening, right? And that's why I think as clinicians, we are really scared to make any kind of recommendation that's not in the guidelines. For me, there's a drive to change, because growing up, my mum would make these ginger concoctions and we would have to have them. I realised the benefits of 2 systems working quite nicely together. But just like Merlin said, I've done lots of research asking healthcare professionals and asking the public for opinions and their views, and they don't talk. Healthcare professionals say, no, our patients don't tell us, because patients say that healthcare professionals don't understand. They don't know, so what is the point? And that's the disconnect that we need to bridge that gap. Now, as a pharmacist myself and as a lecturer, I was saying yesterday that it's not in the curriculum. So what I've tried to do is embed myself in the curriculum. And I'm lucky enough to be a module convener as well, so I lead a module in stage 2. So I've managed to add a little bit more of natural products and alternative medicine. So I've written a case study where the students have to present an argument. We do a for and against. So we have a whole lecture theatre, and the students have to present their arguments. And I use herbal medicines and Ayurvedic products as examples. So one of them being the St. John's wort example. I've got a patient in a case study, and the students have to present the evidence for and against, and they're assessed. But my struggle with my school was, well, the GPHC, which is our regulator, the General Pharmaceutical Council, they have not got any requirement anymore for us to teach herbal medicines. So why do we need to do it? So no, don't do it. So I've had to be, again, a bit of a disruptor and say, no, I want to put it in there because it's really important. And yesterday, all the conversations about how we can make change and thinking about it, I think there was conversations about how we can embed it into practice. I don't think that's realistic, because the change needs to come at the beginning in their education. So if we can actually open up their minds and get them out of that box from the beginning, that's where the change will come. So I think speaking to students, so I was at a conference and I've now been invited by the Pharmacy Students Association to talk, and I'm going to put my talk on women's health and complementary therapies and how we can, and that might get a whole another host of students thinking alternatively. So I've been at the University of Kent, this is my 8th year now. So I've seen 7 cohorts graduate. So if that's just under 700 students that I've managed to give 2 hours to, out of them 700 students, if I've managed to inspire even 10, that's 10 pharmacists out there that are going to be thinking outside of that box that we've been put into. So we need to have more accessible information is what I would say, first of all, because when I first started my research and I went to the pharmaceutical journal and said, I've got this really great piece of information, I've got this research where I've asked hundreds of healthcare professionals about their views, they don't understand anything about herbals, I think we need to do something and put it out there. 10 years ago, they said, no thanks, we're not interested. 10 years later, they've approached me and said, can you review our herbal medicines information? Well, look at that step change. And I think, and actually just another really great opportunity, and I've been given an amazing platform, The Chemist and Druggist. It's one of our most popular pharmacy magazines. I'm literally just about to sign a contract with them to be a freelance writer, and I'm going to write about herbal medicines. Yes. And I'm going to put it out there to say that we need to have more, there's information, thank you, but that needs to be out there, and there is lots of information, but it's not accessible. So if you've got the Pharmaceutical Journal, if you are a subscriber, you can access the resource. If you've got the Stockley's Herbal Drug Interaction, it's a couple of £100, isn't it? We don't have access to these resources. So as pharmacists and healthcare medics, we always say, no, don't do it, because we don't know where the resources are. So it's about making, and I know you were saying yesterday about working with the University of Birmingham and getting some training, and I think that's really important. One of my PhD students, Soba, I call her the super pharmacist because she owns 4 pharmacies, 4 children, and she's doing a PhD with me. And she is carrying on some of the research I started, and we're trying to bridge that gap. So the idea is she's speaking to a lot of, this is what we're saying, 1,500 healthcare professionals took part in the survey.
We can do that. In fact, that would be good because we have got this sorted now.
Yeah, and bringing it together. And I think the resources need to be more accessible. That's my biggest thing. And that's, if we can get the regulators involved, so when I say the regulators, I'm talking about the General Medical Council, the General Pharmaceutical Council, and remind them, actually that statement needs to come back in so that we can start on the ground and teach them and get them interested in that holistic lifestyle, because food is medicine. And something else we identified was nutrition isn't taught to healthcare professionals either. We teach them about specialized nutrition in hospitals. So what happens when a patient goes in and they need to be fed through a tube? Well, we don't tell them anything about your normal diet, because we assume you did that at GCSE at school, and we assume they remember that. but actually any kind of deficiency in not consuming food the right way. And again, I've made a change. I've disrupted the curriculum once again, and I've added my nutrition element. So I think having these access to students and being in these positions is really, really important, and getting students interested and adding that intrigue. And eventually, if you can have healthcare professionals that have been exposed to it from their training, that's where we're going to see change. So if you can target. And the last thing I want to say is we've seen a change in how we transfer knowledge. So I learned about herbal remedies and sort of that holistic lifestyle from my mum, and it's been passed on through generations. That's all changed. Today we're learning about alternative medicines through social media. And I think one of the things that we need to capitalize on is that route. Because if we can address, so my mom's now telling me, I saw this on WhatsApp, what do you think of it? I'm like, wow, mom, I didn't think that was going to come. But it does, it's a massive shift change. So we do need to, if we can give the information in a reliable way and target the people via social media, I think that would be really important, because you'll get your patient involved in your research. And that's where you can start that integration, I think. So that's all I was going to say. I think. So I